All right, good afternoon, Overcomers. This is Mr. T, your host for the Overcomers podcast and co-creator of the Overcomers project. Here's the big question I'm getting after the first episode. What's the backstory? What is this whole thing about? So I'm taking a little time to get to the bottom, get to the nitty gritty of what this actual project is about. Let's go to the beginning. Not too many people know the backstory of trial and error and trying and failing and trying and failing. So let's go way back years ago, probably a good 15, if I'm more than that actually. I remember starting a project being inspired by a series that I saw by a vibrant pastor by the name of Ivor Myers, who actually attended the same college that I'd attended, Oakwood College now, Oakwood University. He made his way to my church and actually had a series, and one of the sermons was focused on Isaiah 58. I had read it before, but I had never seen it broken down in such a way as to see that it's a very important thing to know or to practice in this day and age. There are many truths in there that are, if followed, life-changing. So I was so moved by it that I wanted to start some sort of emphasis on this. So I started my first project, which was Project Reclaim, if I'm not mistaken. And it was based off of the whole thing of repairing the breach from Isaiah 58. And there were truths in there. And as I studied it more and more, I started to see truths, deeper truths in there later on in my life. But from the surface, it was very spiritually attractive to me, and I was drawn to it. So I thought to myself, let's start something. So I actually started a radio show. If you guys remember, I had an online radio show in which we would we would have discussions on a Bible topic, and we would play, a sermon, a really profound sermon. I used to go for the greats like Cleveland, Brooks, and such, Henry Wright. Yeah, we went for the greats, and then I would specifically go for soulful gospel because most people don't even know that that's a genre, gospel soul. And I wanted to basically, in that platform, focus on the elements of Isaiah 58. I remember why I stopped that one. It was because of discouragement. It was because of internal discouragement. People were actually telling me reasons why it shouldn't go forward. I wasn't used to that, and I actually caused it to play in my mind. And that sort of stopped. And I wasn't too happy about it, but nevertheless, it stopped. During this season, I had no idea that I was dealing with depression because growing up in a West Indian community, depression is not actually a thing. It's called either being off, crazy, and there's punishment for being like that, which is basically banishment or rejection or ridicule. There's never anything positive that comes from having mental health issues. So the slightest sign, you have to literally reject it in your mind because you better not be that type of person. So I was totally oblivious to mental health issues. Later on, I find out that I hadn't properly grieved my father's passing. And because of that, I had issues with depression because I was immediately thrown into the driver's seat when he passed, not really having a space to grieve, like properly grieve. I remember that now, but I did not realize the repercussions of not properly grieving. I would start jobs and don't finish. I'd start relationships and don't finish. I would start anything and don't finish. All during this extensive period of depression. So we're talking about 23 years of not knowing that you're actually depressed. Yet still, by the grace of God, never really giving up, always trying. And that's one thing that I've noticed is that no matter how many times I've started and stopped, I've always had the fortitude. I don't think it's my own. I think that it has to be nobody else but God's instilling it in me, the fortitude and the motivation to start something. But every time I would start, it would be something that would depress me or push me down to the point of it not working. So I want to fast forward to the period in which I actually did realize that I had mental health issues. I tried to face it, head on, and went to therapy, ran into capitalist therapist, if you will, somebody just trying to make money off of me. Didn't really properly diagnose, just pretty much wanted to make sure that they had their therapy session scheduled. That was the most important thing. I couldn't forget it. It was so disgusting because it wasn't a worldly psychologist. And I'll leave that there. So it gave me a bad taste of psychology or psychologists or even going to therapist altogether. So I did stop and I leaned entirely on the Lord, which I don't recommend because God gave people and still gives people professional wisdom on how to deal with mental health issues. It doesn't make any sense to bypass that and go to God when God is pointing you to them. So don't take that advice that I actually gave myself on trying to overcome mental health issues. So in the meantime, once realizing that I actually had these issues, I started a project called 23. And it was a life-changing thing to realize that I was depressed for 23 years. And after that 23 years, I said, you know what, let me dedicate the other 23 to actually trying to better myself. My father passed when I was 23, and I didn't realize my issues until 23 years later. Just putting that out there. So, let's see. I'm going off at the top of the head, so forgive me if I give you a little dead air. Just thinking and remembering the process, because I don't remember it in chronological order. I remember it just as it pops up in my mind. The next project, 23, I wanted to dedicate the next 23 years and give thanks and give light to the concept of being broken and not knowing it, which is what my situation was. So I did that 23, and I was intending to write a book.